We are going to move on to our guest speaker. In 2005, Lance Miller emerged from a field of 30,000 contestants spanning 120 countries to earn the title of Toastmasters World Champion of Public Speaking. Whoop, whoop. Lance Miller believes that success comes with the ability to lead. It has to come from you, your honed talent, self-discipline, and personal philosophy. You are leading life, or it's leading you. Don't be passively guided by others' wills or leave yourself at the mercy of outside events. Take control of yourself. You can achieve your goals and guide others in doing the same. Lance teaches that leadership has 3 dynamic components: communication, organization, and ethics. This evening, Lance will discuss one of the 3 dynamic components of hands-on leadership, and that is communication. Over to you, Lance.
Thank you, Antoinette, and welcome to all my friends in District 42. You know, we find ourselves in interesting times right now. I think that's for sure. Years ago, in order for me to have done a presentation in District 42, I would have had to have flown to Calgary. And those of you that I've been to Calgary a number of times, and those of you that may know of my trips to Calgary, my flights had not gone well to Calgary. I've been late. I got one time my plane was delayed. Another time I had, I don't know what it was, about 100 people waiting for me, and my flight, we had a flat tire in Salt Lake City. And it took 3 or 4 hours for them to fly a tire in from Seattle to put on the airplane to take off. And Carolyn Caldy, who's a dear friend of mine, picked me up at the airport, and I found out that she's got a very heavy right foot when she wants it. So nice to see everybody here. You know, I want to talk very briefly. I have about 20 minutes to go over this. What my experience with the new Pathways training program is, what we're doing in my club, and to really throw in the word of the day. I think if we were going to put one word that maybe summarized Pathways, I think challenge is a good word with it. And to back up just a little, I've been in Toastmasters almost 30 years. When we stopped the legacy program, I was a double DTM, and I'd done 38 competent communicators. So this is a program I'm very familiar with. On the other side of that, I have, if you know the story of my home club, we came in it as about 2 years old. It was struggling. We built it up to be the number 4 club in the world in 5 years. We had 95 members. Since that point, we've been one of the most successful clubs in Toastmasters. I know what it takes to run a Toastmasters club. I've been doing it for years. Last year, we were number 31 in the world for education completions. There is a person who tracks that now. And I think Toastmasters should track and rank us so we can sort of see how we do. They don't do that anymore. And I need to tell you up front, I'm not politically correct, and I don't pull my punches. So I think if we're going to get to the bottom of problems, we need to be able to talk about the problems. And so I'm going to share with you very directly what some of the issues I see with dealing with Pathways and what we're doing in my club to deal with it. And really the things that Antoinette was talking about and some of my leadership viewpoints really come from the viewpoint that to lead, you have to come up with solutions. You're the one that has to look at what's going on. And a key component of leadership, I was going to show this later, but I'm going to show it right now, is this slide, which is, I found it, I thought it was great. It says the meaning of life is that oh shoot, man, don't you hate Zoom? You know, you have a slide, you think it's going to go great, but see, that's actually how the slide looks. It's a lot more fun when I get to do this in a live audience, because I get to, complain about the audio visual. I'm looking under the screen. I'm going, what's that say? And the meaning of life is that you have to, and then my next slide is figure it out for yourself. And that pretty much summarizes a lot of the Toastmasters experience I've had, is that a lot of Toastmasters really what took my club from being a struggling, mediocre club to being an excellent club is we figured it out for ourselves and how to run it. And there's an evolution we go through as human beings. But there's a devolution we go through. When we're born, we're very creative and we can communicate. And if anybody knows about kids, they say anything they want. And then we're devolved down to a point where we listen to what the big people say, who are the authorities in our lives, and we realize it's very painful when we don't do what the big people say. That started at about 3 years old for me. And then, you know, we had parents that told us what to do, and we learned that life was a lot more enjoyable if we were aligned with our parents versus being perpendicular to our parents. And then, like I think everybody on the call, we went to school. And the biggest thing I learned in school was to sit in the right seat at the right time and to study what other people figured out. But I was never taught how to figure things out for myself in school. Everything I learned to do was to study what other people figured out and then repeat that. And as long as I did what the big people did, which was the big person at the front of the room, I got to succeed. I got to go to the next grade. And then I got a job and I showed up and they said, here's your desk. You can sit here. Don't rock the boat. And if we like you someday, we'll promote you. And at that point, I had sort of turned over, essentially, and that's a nutshell, turned over the creativity of my future, of my decisions to the authorities, which I had, you know, probably 25 good years of authority dictatorship. One of the things we get to do in Toastmasters is we get to reignite that creativity. When you get to reignite the ability to think on our own. And that starts with giving a speech. And here's how bad this is. We tell somebody to stand up for 4 to 6 minutes and tell us about yourself and they pass out. Okay, that's how bad it is. But it gets into the leadership components. It gets into your viewpoint on Toastmasters. And we get so used to an authority telling us what we need to do that people don't think on the problem and say, how can I solve this? And that's where leadership is really developed. When you start to look at the situation and go, what's it going to take to solve this thing? Now, fortunately for me, I started climbing mountains at a very young age. I canoed, I sailed, I got a pilot's license when I was 19. I sailed across the North Atlantic when I was 20. I was out in the world doing things. So I had a lot of dynamic components in my life where I was looking to solve problems because, you know, when you're flying or you're out in the middle of the ocean, there's not some authority around. You got to figure out what to do. And if something goes wrong, you got to figure it out. So I did have that strong component in me, but I watch that in Toastmasters quite a bit. Now, when it comes to pathways, what I've seen with a lot of people is that most people that get into Toastmasters get in not because they are a great speaker or they're a great leader or they're super competent in life. They get into Toastmasters because they want to become a better speaker. They want to become a better leader. They want to have more control over their life. So we come in with a high level of incompetence, myself included. And what we get to do is by doing the Toastmasters program, we turn those incompetencies of speaking and leading and running a meeting and everything into competencies. So what can happen if we're incompetent, if we're unsure of ourselves, is we get a program that comes in and the authority, which is Toastmasters International at this point, says, here's your training program. And we look at it, we go, oh, there must be something wrong with me because I don't understand this. I must not be adequate. And let me just tell you, when it comes to Toastmasters, nothing can be further from the truth. If you don't understand it, you're smarter than most people. Because Toastmasters, I mean, Pathways is an anomaly. I know what it takes to train people. I said, I've done 38 CCs. I've probably coached over 600 people. I'm a trained pilot. I am trained in celestial navigation. I've sailed across the Atlantic. I have done all sorts of adventure sports. I'm trained in computers. I'm trained in organizational design. I design organizations. I get people to work. And I've never seen a more obtuse program in my life than Pathways, sent down as an upgrade over what we had. We used to have a really nice manual with 10 speeches in it that gave us the basics of public speaking, from vocal variety to stage movement, gestures, to using small words and phrases, to getting to the point in our speech. We were able to get the basics in. Then we had 5 speeches and advanced manuals. If we take a look, and I just discovered this about Pathways about 2 months ago. I'm working on my I've done 3 level 5s. I'm working on my 4th level 5 right now. So I want to share with you something I discovered so we can sort of understand how it works. This is a spreadsheet of the 11 paths and pathways. And the red speeches are the unique speeches in pathways. There's 15 of them. So there's 11 paths and there's 15 unique speeches in pathways. So let's take a look at this. We come down here, every single path that we have starts with an icebreaker, evaluation and feedback, which is 2 speeches, a research and presenting. Every single path is identical. Now, there was just a note that came out from Toastmasters International that they've decided to replace the research and presenting with, I think it was movement, some sort of movement, which is one of your electives up here. Okay, so, but they're going to move research and presenting up to this one and then put, I think, stage movement or gestures in here. No, it's effective body language right there. So effective body language is going to go in there. So they're keeping the same, they're not putting any new speeches in it. So when you come in, you want to learn presentation mastery, you do the path for the first time. You have one unique speech there. You have these electives. You have a unique speech to the path, but not to pathways. This speech is repeated several times. You have some more electives. And the same thing with this. This speech is unique to this path, but it's repeated in numerous paths. So I'll just tell you, I don't understand how you come out with a organization, and I can walk through this in great detail if we want. Let's just say, well, here, I'll go over this. I did engaging humor. Where's my engaging humor path? There, engaging humor. Oh, right there. So I did engaging humor, and I go, well, this will be a fun one to do because I know a lot about humor and I teach humor, and I said this will be fun to see what pathways is. Icebreaker, no humor. Evaluation and feedback, no humor. Research and presenting, no humor. Know your sense of humor. Okay, there's no humor in it, but you got to discover your sense of humor. Connect with the audience. Not really. Instruct, Toastmasters mentoring, no humor. Engage your audience with humor. That's the first speech with humor in it. Okay, we come down here. That was the only speech that had really anything to do with humor. And the only tool they gave me in Pathways was to create a story, a list of my stories. There's probably 15 or 20 good devices you can use for humor, from the non sequitur analogy to the obtuse metaphor to the sudden change of direction to timing. There's all these things you can do. And I was really surprised when I did it. And then at the end of it, they asked me to reflect on my path, which is right here. And that's when I said, you know, I think I did the other 3 paths, the other 2 paths I did, there were a lot of similar speeches. So I started to put the spreadsheet together. And I realized that what we have is a cookie cutter of 11 presentations that are identical with 15 unique speeches in them. And this is supposed to be the greatest thing since sliced bread. And this is going to save Toastmasters. Well, as we know, it was developed in Denver, Colorado, and Colorado was one of the first states in the United States to allow people to smoke marijuana. And I think that's probably at the fundamental of how Pathways was developed. Now, just so you know, I'm being gentle. I love Toastmasters. Toastmasters has changed my life. I have built one of the most, not myself, I was part of building one of the most successful clubs in Toastmasters. To this day, it's a successful club. I am a world champion speaker in Toastmasters. I have traveled the world. I love this organization. It changes people. It gives people confidence. It's a safe place for people to come in and to develop. And when I see a program like Pathways come in, I have no idea what Toastmasters International is thinking of at the club level. Okay, so I said it. Okay, now here's the deal. It's a challenge. And the biggest thing I just talked about is we got to figure things out for ourselves, and we have to figure out how to make this work. None of us wanted COVID to come in, okay? But we got COVID. And what did we do? Nobody said, well, I think I'll quit. I'm not going to participate in the pandemic, all right? No, COVID's here. And quite honestly, it was thrusted on us by a lot of authorities, similar to what Pathways is, but we got to deal with it. So we're meeting virtually. We figure it out. We got creative. We figured out how to make it work with COVID. Well, we got Pathways in, so we figure out how to make Pathways work because we have Pathways. That's the deal we have. Now, I'm going to show you some stuff we're doing in my club, and it's actually working quite well right now. Okay, but the first thing I want to talk about too is the way Toastmasters works is not necessarily that we are the best training program in the world and we have the most exact training processes that you go through. I've been trained in very complex, very life and death type of training. You know, when you're flying an airplane and you're scuba diving under frozen ice in the middle of a lake, or you're sailing, like you said, that stuff you die doing. I know what it takes to be trained really, really well in some things. Toastmasters works primarily because we do it. Now, just understand it. It works primarily because we do it. So what I want you to do is when you look at when you look at your pathways path, don't get all wrapped up in the fact that, well, this is what it said and this is what I'm supposed to do. Do the speech. Just do the speeches. Look at the path, look at the evaluation forms, and do the speech to the best of your ability, and you will get the gain out of pathways. And so a couple things at my club, and this may have happened at your club. I have just some phenomenally brilliant speakers and brilliant, we call it coaching in my club. We don't call it speech evaluation. Some very brilliant coaches in my club that are just, I mean, some of the best coaching I've ever received has been in my club. And I had people in my club that were going to leave because they were so disgusted with pathways. And I'm president of my club this year for the third time. Now, we're not 95 members now. We haven't been 95 for a while because we don't get rewarded in Toastmasters for having a big club. And we were playing a game to be a top 10 club when we took ourselves up to number 4 in the world. And we were up over 80 for a number of years. But what we did in our club is I talked to the members and I said, look, you have valuable information. You're a tremendous coach. We need that knowledge base in the club. I don't care if you do a pathway speech or not. If you want to do a CC manual speech, work out of a CC manual. Our vice president of education, we're gonna fill it in as a pathways speech so that we get credit for the club. But you do the speech that you feel you need to do so you win with Toastmasters and you're developing yourself with Toastmasters, and we'll record it and make sure that we get our points for it and everything like that. But the important thing is that you stay in the club, and this club is a safe place for you to learn, a safe place for you to understand, and a safe place for you to help others. The other thing I did, I'll show you right here. I came up with what we call, the name of my club is Renaissance Speakers, a competent Renaissance speaker. And I went to every member of the club and I said, we used to request that every member of the club do 1 speaking level a year and work on their competent leadership. So what I'd like for you to do, I don't care where you are in pathways, I want you to commit to doing 10 speeches this year. I want you to commit to coaching 10 times this year. I want you to commit to being a functionary in the meeting for each function, which is 5 times. And I want you to commit to being Toastmaster. We call it club coach instead of general evaluator, and table topics master. So that's 28 speaking positions, and every single person in my club agreed to do that. And now what's happening, people are excited about filling in their Renaissance speakers, their competent Renaissance speakers program, more about worrying about, oh, I've got speech number 3 on the level 3 and I'm not sure how to do this. They're going, no, I'm going to figure out how to do this. We talk about the different speed. If somebody gets hung up on pathways, and I've said enough bad stuff about it. If somebody gets hung up on pathways, we're there to actually work them through it. And the important thing is, instead of doing the pathway speech as perfectly as Pathways is telling you to do it, it's important that you do the speech and you get the gain from speaking. And just by exercising that speaking, you're going to start getting your benefit from the Toastmasters program. Toastmasters lives and dies at the club level. And you have to look at your club and decide what's it going to take to make the members of this club happy and to make the members of this club learn and have value to this meeting and be belonging to my club. Otherwise, you're going to lose your club. And that's what I had to look at this year, was what's it going to take to keep the membership and build it up. We have a goal. We'd like to get back up above 40 this year and then get back up above 50 members. Because to me, a good Toastmasters club is about 40 to 60 members in that range. It's not 20 members. That's hardly enough to have a good meeting with. So the bottom line is Toastmasters lives and dies at the club level. In Toastmasters, one of the biggest things that we can learn is how to figure it out for ourselves, to speak, and figure it out for ourselves to lead. Because when we really take that ownership and start leading and speaking and figuring out what works, we're coming out of the authority telling us what to do, and we're starting to get ownership of our own life, direction in our own life, and then we can really start helping other people because we know what we're talking about. We've learned it, we've lived it. And that's the biggest thing. Toastmasters is a great place to fail. It's a great place to screw up. Nobody gets fired in Toastmasters except I might after I've given the speech. I don't know. So with that, Antoinette, we'll turn it back over to you and we can ask questions or whoever's in charge here.
Thank you very much. I appreciate everything that you had to say, Lance. I'm just going to unpin you here quickly so that I can see everybody again. I took down some really good points. The things that I think I really took away from you was about really figuring it out for ourselves. And I think that that is really important. As a club, we need to decide what is important for us. You can either pop your hand up or you could just take yourself off mute and go ahead and ask a question.
We got a small group, so feel free to just dial, have dialogue here if anybody's got a question.
Exactly. Diana.
I was wondering, in Toastmasters, we have an oath to adhere to, and I like that oath. I always remember as a Toastmaster, it was my, I don't know what word to use, my duty, my obligation, maybe those are not the greatest words, to participate when I was asked to do something. You don't say no, you do it, and you do your roles and you do whatever you can to help out in the club. And part of that is speaking, doing roles and all that. And that is in our Toastmasters Oath. And we, when you take that oath, we are supposed to adhere to it. And I don't see that happening, Lance.
Well, no, the same thing was going on with us. We used to run a 6-week schedule. That's how far in advance we were scheduling. And then we with COVID and with the meeting, we lost membership and we built membership back up with COVID too. But the clubs have lives of their own, just to be honest with you. And like I said, we built our club up to this dynamic club, and we for 12, 14 years, we were in the 70, 80, 90 range, right? It was just this, but what happens is the people that came in, that's what they were used to. And so the club, they didn't keep the dynamic, keep the activity going. And Toastmasters did not give us a game where we're getting rewarded for that big club. So we didn't get the prize, of being a top 10 club. So what happened in my meetings was that we were spending 10 minutes begging people. I've got 18 people on the call, and there's 18 positions to fill for a club. And we're saying we need a speaker, and nobody is speaking. Nobody's standing up saying, I'll speak next week, I'll do this. And we're like trying to beg people to do it. So what I did this year when I came in, and that was last year, and it was last year, Roberta Perry, who's a past international director, she got in Toastmasters in 1974. She's been district governor. She's started over 100 Toastmasters clubs. And my club was the president, and she's struggling with it. And then she hands it to me. And so I said, what I'm going to do, instead of saying you need to respond when called on, I got a commitment. And just so you know, I didn't send out a email blast saying, would you be willing to do this? I sent a personal email to every single Toastmaster in my club, and I followed up with a phone call, and I talked to them, and I said, look, I want to make sure you get the most out of your Toastmasters experience in this club. And in order to do that, this is what I know, you have to do the program. And I put that in the email, you have to do the program. So what I'm going to ask you to, so you get the benefit out of Toastmasters, is to commit to 10 speeches, commit to 10 coaching, 5 functionaries, and then the top 3 in the meeting. And 100% of my club came through. I had about 4 or 5 people, I said, that were just really frustrated with Toastmasters. And what did I do? I listened to them. I said, I think you're being too kind. Okay. But here's what I'll do. You're valuable to the club. I don't want you to leave. I want you to be, like I told you, I said, you do whatever speeches you want. We're going to count them as pathway speeches, because I want you in the club, and I want you benefiting. I want the club benefiting from your experience. So I got that commitment on an individual basis. And the other thing, Diana, is that there's a club culture that gets created on what we expect of people. And club cultures are not created in 2 or 3 weeks. It took probably 4 years to get my culture really created in my club. And that started when we were building it up to be a top 10 club in the world. And we expected people, we requested of them that they do a speaking level a year, was when we wanted the points. But now we have a 30-year history of being a top club and what you expect when you come in. And we have a lot of us in it that hold that cultural position on what we do. And the fact it's a fun place, it's a friendly place. First of all, it's okay to make mistakes here. All those components in it. But and this is a long answer to your question, but this is part of your leadership training, is to figure out how to inspire people to show up and do their job. And boy, I'll tell you, the lessons I've learned in Toastmasters, because I can't give people any raises and I can't cut their pay. I got to figure out how to inspire them and get them personally motivated, and talk to them about their purpose for being in the club and how valuable they are and how much I appreciate them. And they do such a great job. And if they're nervous about something, I said, that's what the program's about. It's about you I talked about that. It's about you taking those areas of weakness and making them strong. And this is how you do it. Doesn't matter if you screw up in Toastmasters. Nobody's getting fired around here.
Well, do you have such a thing as community service in the States? Because I think a lot of
if you get arrested and they go to jail.
No. Like, for example, if this is an engineering club, then they can, part of their whatever that is in engineering, they can join Toastmasters as a community service, which I think is not an asset. Because
no, they're not there for the right reason.
No, I'm not joining a Toastmasters club for community service. I'm joining it because I love it. I think it's fun, and I want to learn badly how to communicate better and better.
Yeah.
So I think, do you do this in the States, this community service thing?
No, there's not, but I think that there should be, and I've written all this out. I think there should be a component of a Toastmasters club that you actually go out at least twice a year and do a speechcraft or a youth leadership program in the community to help bring communication skills to the community. And what that does, it actually gets us going out in the community, and it builds a better club because people are going out and helping other people with their lives. And we build membership with that. We build a better community. It'd be a phenomenal public relations action, but it makes more competent individuals in the club when you go out and do that. But no, in the States, we do not have a community service requirement unless a company just happens to have that. It's not something that's prevalent across the board, to my knowledge. I mean, and I've been in a lot of businesses and stuff.
Can I get a question in here, or okay, I'll wait till Susan's done.
Yeah, Ron, you go ahead. Ron, we'll go you next, and then Susan.
Okay. Thanks very much. First off, Lance, just an awesome presentation, and congratulations to this club for bringing in Lance. I'm amazed there's only 14 people here. So I'm from another club, and I just want to give some context because I have 3 questions I want to ask you. I'm from a club in Lethbridge, Alberta. We had 25 members, and we were President's Distinguished for 12 or 13 years before Zoom. Now we have 45 members, and we're looking to just keep growing. So I want to ask you this question. I've got 3 here. That's a 3-parter. Give me your feelings about Toastmasters on Zoom. Where do you get that stat to measure yourself against the top 10 ed goals in the world? Because that's just awesome. And comment on why the best clubs are 40 to 60 members. If you could do that, I'd be thrilled.
Sure. As far as the first one was on Zoom, what reminded me of that?
I'm just saying, what's your opinion of Toastmasters on Zoom?
Okay, I got it. Okay, here's my Toastmasters on Zoom. This is not public speaking. It's not the same thing. It's a completely different beast because, first of all, you're looking at a computer and you see half the screens are blacked out and stuff. And so to be live and be real on a Zoom call it takes a different set of skills than it does to be live and real in front of an audience. But it's a critical skill to learn, especially now that with the whole COVID thing, we're going virtual. this is going to be a way of life. And so if you can really be an effective speaker on Zoom, then you're going to have, I think, better opportunities, but it's not public speaking. So I think that from a Toastmaster standpoint, it's serving a very needed skill set, but at the same token, we need to get back up in front of people and see the eyeballs and feel ourselves sweat. The second one was
the 10 education goals. Where are you getting that measurement to be the top 10 club in the world?
Oh, there's a gentleman, and I have his, I'll try to find it. I have his, he downloads all this data from the TI website and puts it in a database and sorts it. Okay. And so
the third question was the 40 to 60 members. Why is that the best number for a club?
well, because I'll just say in my club, it depends on how long your club. We have a 3-hour meeting for one thing. We have 6 speakers, 3-hour meeting. We have 30 minutes of table topics. We have 18 positions to fill, 18 to 20 positions to fill in the club. And if you have 25 members, you can't have a decent meeting. But the other thing is, there's some dynamics in Toastmasters. We lose 35% of our membership every year. That happens at the club level, but you can see the international stats on how many people roll over in Toastmasters every year. So every club loses about 1/3 of its membership. So if you let's just say you have 60 members in a club, and people go, oh, that's terrible. Well, 20 of them are leaving. You got to get 20 more, and you got 40 active. Okay. You get about 50, typically about 50% on average. It goes from 40 to 60%. And you get about 50% of your membership attending the meetings regularly. So when you have a meeting, it's been a little higher on Zoom, but when it was a live meeting, people are out of town. People are, they have other obligations, or, they're having a baby, or they're graduating from college, or whatever, or they're graduating from medical school or something like that, whatever. They're busy doing stuff. And so what I saw is in the meeting, when we had 95 members, our meeting size was normally around 40, 45 members, in the meeting on it. But it also gives you a bigger audience base. It gives you a more diverse feedback in it. It's a higher energy organization. And you're actually running a great organization. You're not begging people to fill roles up. You've got people scheduled out 5 or 6 weeks in advance, and you have enough manpower to make things happen. And there's an energy and enthusiasm that happens in that larger group that I don't see happening in Toastmasters groups that are like 15 or 20 people, which is where the majority of the clubs are in the world.
Yep.
So Susan, you had something?
Yeah, I did. And thanks for your talk, Lance. I was listening a lot because I'm relatively new to Toastmasters. This is probably my 1-year anniversary. And I've really enjoyed it. And myself, I know my personal motivations for joining, so I come all the time. And then when I became VP Education, I had some kind of lofty ideas. And I've just started, and I have felt nothing but discouraged, to be completely honest, because I took over in the summer, and I feel like our regular members have just kind of petered off. And they're not coming, and I'm begging people to fill roles or to plan their speeches, and I think we're a fun place. That's what we really try to do. And Edwin, I was really encouraged when you said at our last meeting that you thought it was fun, because that's what we try to do, is have fun. And I guess, it's normal. Some people, that life gets busy, and I know there's been a lot of things going on this year. So I guess it's normal. Some people are gonna, fall off, but how do we then encourage more people, I guess, to come? Because I don't think we have quite enough people regularly attending right now to make it a dynamic meeting, and I think we could be so much more. So maybe what's some ideas that we could attract, more people? We're part of a company, we have a broad audience, but even with our PR, I think, Antoinette, you'd probably agree, we're struggling a bit, It's discouraging.
Well, it's interesting because this comes down to fundamental leadership skills, quite honestly. And the strength and position of your club is a direct relationship, or excuse me, a direct correlation to the cumulative leadership in the club. And that was a really tough pill for me to swallow when I was president the first time, because there were people that they'd say they'd speak and they wouldn't show up. I wanted to go wring their neck, and they didn't let me do that. And a couple things we did, we set up, I come back to this club culture aspect, and you can do it now. It's best done at the beginning of the year, but you can do it anytime in your club as you sit down. And I cannot overestimate the importance of live one-on-one communication with someone. So much of Toastmasters today, I see we're trying to handle it through emails. And we just brought a new member in, and my vice president of education was saying, I'm trying to find a mentor for him. And I emailed this person, and I emailed these 4 people, and we have a lot of sort of new people in the club right now. So we wanted to get more of a seasoned member. And I said, well, find these 4 people and see if any of them will do it. She goes, I sent an email to them, and nobody responded. And then I sent a personal email to them. Nobody's gotten back to me yet on it. She said, I just don't know what to do. And I said, I'd pick up the phone and call them. Now that may sound, she's like, and when I said that, she goes, oh God, it was like, she was so used to managing on the computer. I pick up the phone and call you and talk to you and say, we got this guy and you're the best person in this is why we want, Lance has asked you to be mentor this person. The care factor of live communication. And you don't get people on board by downward pressure. You get people on board by uplifting them, because what most people in the world are starving for, and quite honestly was the entire focus of my world champion speech, which is not just a speech, it is something I believe and I try to live by, is the validation of their actions and helping them be right in life. And when you tell somebody how great they are and how much they're appreciated and stuff, they feel more alive than they did before. And so it's creating that culture and actually talking to each one and saying, we're going through some tough times because of the summer and with COVID. We need to get people back on board. And we miss you at the club. We miss you. And we were talking and we said, gosh, I wish Jimmy was back. I wish we'd see Jimmy. And everybody's going at the meetings, Jimmy, everybody's wanting to know where you are. And they goes, you miss me? You really? You mean, really? It's like the person leaves and they don't think anybody cared that they left. And the care factor is one of the biggest things you can have, where you call somebody up and you tell them what a great job they're doing or how you're missing them, or they haven't been to 3 meetings and everybody in the club is worried about them. They want to make sure they didn't break their leg or something, but it takes, and when I talk about, I will call a member. I had those 4 members I spent 20 minutes was short. I spent over an hour with another one on the phone, and I wasn't forcing them at any time to handle pathways or anything like that. I was just listening and acknowledging them. And they were saying, I don't like this test you got to do up front. And I think it invalidates people and it puts you in a pigeonhole. And I've changed so much. And I go, man, I totally understand that. I think it's a crazy thing, and it's like, yeah, we just listened. And then we finally started to calm down. I went, you have so much wisdom and you're such an incredible coach. I want the club to experience your brilliance. And I want you to find something that you feel you can grow with in the club. I want your time here worthwhile. And I was sincere. I was dead honest with him. And I said, are you happy if you do? And one of the guys said, I don't want to do 5 to 7 minute speeches. I want to do 15-minute speeches. I said, great. Then we're going to do 15-minute speeches with you, because I want you to grow and I want you to get the benefit out of this club you need to do. We'll do the 15-minute speeches with you. Just tell our vice president of education when you schedule that you're doing a 15-minute speech. No problem. And he was like, great, because he had these things he wanted to accomplish, but he didn't think the club was delivering to him. So I opened it up and said, we're here to service the membership of our club and to see that you become the most competent leader, the most competent meeting manager, the most competent coach, the most competent communicator that you can be. And that was the approach. And everybody wants to be more competent. So that was sort of the ride I took it. On your case, I would say I'm new in Toastmasters. This is my first officer position. Be truthful. And I'm trying to figure out how to get the club moving. And, I'm just curious. You used to come all the time and you're not coming anymore. And I'm trying to figure out what I can do. Tell me, what would interest you in coming back to the club? Just some really caring, good communication, the fact you care about the person. I hope that, I wish there's like you do 1, 2, and 3. And that's what I feel, quite honestly. There's this whole thing about automaticities in life where we turn everything over to automatic. And we're not computers. We're sentient human beings. And from my standpoint, we're spiritual energy units is what we are. We're not computers. And you can't just go down this checklist and everybody mechanically goes along and does it. You got to love people, care about them, find out what their passions are. And that's part of the leadership experience. I did not know how to do that when I was first in Toastmasters. Pretty good at it now.
I wondered, how often does your club meet, Lance?
Once a week.
Once a week. Okay, good. Simel, you have your hand up.
Yeah, I just want to reiterate what Lance has told. I think you have touched what we think, and I have told this to Sujan many times that last year, this club, we have 20 members, and we used to have 15 or 16 attendants in every meeting. And I used to call every member if they are absent for 2 times. And it became a trend that whenever they are not joining, they are dropping a mail to me so that I don't call them. so this was running. And today, even before 1 hour of this meeting, I requested Susan and Antoinette, just call everyone. And one single call, maybe, okay, they will think to join. So I think what you told, that connection, that we are for each other, and club is a secondary. We know each other, we are friends each other, and then people start thinking of each other, and they join and spontaneously participate. And if you remember, in May, June, we would have 16 or 17 joining out of 20. And why those 3 are not coming? After the meeting, I was calling, hey, I didn't find it. What happened to it? 8:30 in the night, I was calling them. And so next time they were not here, they were dropping me a mail.
Yeah, no, I got to tell you that we did the same thing. And the fact that people, I would always say, look, at the meeting, everybody was, are you okay? Everybody was wondering where you were. You guys missed me? You didn't know, it's like my presence was missed. Do you realize how much invalidation most people carry around on their shoulders? They don't show up and nobody even notices or cares they didn't show up. And you're in an organization that you consider me valuable enough that you missed me in the meeting. Oh my gosh. It's like, again, you're getting the heart of the person. You're getting the essence of the importance of who they are as a human being. And we bring that out because most people go through life, like I said, with this authority component of being told to sit there and shut up most of their life. That's sort of the lesson we learn. And in Toastmasters, it's no, come in here. You're all important. We want you to grow and learn. I talk about Toastmasters a little bit like church. I said, we revive the dead in Toastmasters. It's like people come in, they're this huddled shell of the mass and they can hardly communicate. 6 months later, you can't shut them up. They're more alive than you've ever seen. And that's why that's why I'm saying, don't get too hung up on pathways. Okay. I'm not getting into all the political ramifications and why it came out and all that. I just go, I want my club and my members to win with Toastmasters. I know how to make them win with Toastmasters, and they win by doing the program. They win by getting good validated feedback and good coaching. And we run tight, effective meetings, and we create a positive, fun, friendly environment. And that's what it is. And we deal with pathways, and that's what we got right now, just like we deal with COVID. And I put them in the same category, but anyway.
Thank you very much, Lance. We've had some great advice here. For me, this was rejuvenating. I've made copious notes, and I'm going to create myself some good action items to take out of this, of things that I want to do that really sparked in my mind tonight. And I want to thank you for it. I'm going to deviate a little bit from our agenda because I can see that we're running through some time here pretty quickly. And it's really important for me that we hear from some of the people that are our guests tonight. I just want to get a little bit of feedback from them, what they thought about today. So I'm just going to go around the way I see people on the screen. I'm going to call on Emma first to take yourself off of mute and just give us a couple of comments, just, a couple minutes, no more than, 2 minutes. And just give us some thoughts on how, why you came tonight, and ultimately, hopefully you were glad you came, and if so, why?
I came tonight because, I think it was Shamal who reached out and said that we could invite members of our clubs. I'm a little bit disappointed that nobody else from my club came, but I'm getting a lot out of this, so I'm glad I came. I was particularly interested because I know Lance is a wonderful speaker. I wanted to hear what he had to say. And I have gotten stuff out of tonight. Mostly what I've gotten is, I can be a little bit of a rule follower. And I think that I like this concept of it's okay to go a little off track to help meet people's needs, because we're really all here to deal with whatever purpose that we're looking for. So I like knowing that if Lance says it's okay for that little bit of wiggle room, I'm okay with that.
Blame it on me, okay? Just send it my way.
Thanks, Emma. We're on the same path. I was thinking the same thing. Ron, you're next on my screen. Do you want to take yourself off mute and give us some comments? We want to welcome you for coming today. Tell us a little bit about what made you come and what you've gotten from the meeting today.
The reason I came tonight is because I've never been the president of a club that has 95 members. And anytime I can listen to somebody who's done that, and I'll tell you why. Just recently at a training, club officer training level, I mentioned the fact that our club has 45 members. And one of the leading lights of Toastmasters in Calgary, who probably discovered for the first time that there's a club in Lethbridge that has 45 members, said, well, what are you going to do when you go back to in-person meetings? And I said, why would we go back? You know, that's because now we have members all over the province and all over the world. So I've listened to Lance speak before. He's a breath of fresh air. Emma, I agree with you. It's just okay to veer off the boundaries, and no one is better at veering off the boundaries than Lance and making it be successful and still politically correct. So I'm agog that you guys have him as a guest. I'm aghast that there's only 14 people here listening to him.
I want to just quickly comment on those 2 points, because I talk about a lot of people are more concerned with following the rules and getting the result. And in life, again, we got rewarded for following the rules. And I always said we could burn the house down and we wouldn't get in trouble if we followed the rules. But I was at a conference one time and I came off and a guy goes, oh, I love that thing about not following the rules. And he goes, we don't make anybody speak out of the Toastmasters manual at our meetings. And I was like, that's not what I'm talking about. What I'm talking about is you're figuring out how to get the result, and the rule may not align up to getting the result. And the result is that improved life, that more competent individual. What's it going to take? Because that's the result that makes Toastmasters win. And so as long as we're moving towards getting the result, the rule may be in the way, and there may be a better way to get that result. And that's really what I'm saying when I say that. And like I said, our whole life, we have been like hypnotized into follow the rules. And we knew it was painful. It was painful when we didn't follow the rules. Okay.
Thank you, Lance. Thank you for that clarification. Next, I'm going to call on Catherine. Catherine Trigg, tell us what brought you here tonight and what you got from it, and just introduce yourself a little bit. Thank you for joining us. Oh, you got to take yourself off mute, Catherine.
Thank you for letting me join. I had no intention of coming, but I am here. I recently took on the role of president of the West Enders Club. So that is part of why I was here. I saw an email and thought, well, there's an opportunity to hear something interesting. And what I love about the speech today is we had our first executive meeting this week, and you're reiterating and confirming everything that I kind of suggested we should be doing, which is I joined the club so I could learn how to speak, and I hate the Pathfinders or Pathways tremendously. I am from the competent communicator era, and that worked really, really well for me. And I really despise Pathways, but I'm learning to just work with it. And what my suggestion for our club is let's just speak, and let's not spend hours and hours curating a speech per se, but let's speak. So I like that you're confirming what I had to say and what I want to do, which is just engage our members. And I appreciate what you said. And I do think there's more than one way to skin a cat, if I can say it that way. So thank you very much.
Excellent.
Thank you, Catherine. Yeah, I think you're just resonating with many of us here. Faze, would you like to turn on your camera and turn your mic on? And welcome to our club today, and just let us know a little bit about yourself and what brought you here tonight.
Thank you, Anthony. Yes, today I was mostly looking at the flyer you sent across, and I am from the Worley Toastmasters Club in Melbourne, in Australia. So I was interested in listening to Lance. I see that he's been a world champion, and it's always good to get the experience passed on from someone senior like him in Toastmasters, and the wealth of experience and the content was really great. I really enjoyed it. I think it is a challenge for us to keep up with what's happening around the world these days with virtual meetings. I guess we are in Toastmasters to do public speaking, but most of the members, when they join, they don't realize, this is not actually public speaking, but, this is the way going forwards. But I guess when things get back to normal, I'm sure, there'll be more interesting things. And I am a big fan of public speaking in terms of attending face-to-face sessions rather than online sessions. I guess we're just kind of like cheating the system and like speaking from the camera, like you're not actually facing that, anxiety or frightened, like you just relax and say no one will coming on your face or doing anything. And the best part of Toastmasters is you most of the time gets positive feedback. There's less critique in you for your speeches, but look, I really enjoyed Lance, and I'm sure I'll log on to YouTube later on to see some of his great speeches there. Thank you for having me.
Oh, Faith, thanks for coming. We sure appreciate you being here tonight. Again, you're just reinforcing the thoughts that have been going through my mind as well. Next, I'd like to call on Blake. Blake, can you turn your camera on and take your mic off of mute?
Well, am I off mute? Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you now.
Okay, I don't have a camera on this computer. So why am I here? Because I believe in following rules, and I'd get killed if I wasn't here. Apparently, I have somebody with some pull in here or something. But I mean, to be honest, I believe very much in Toastmasters. My father was a member of Toastmasters for years and years. I know the value of being able to speak in public and the difference that it's made in my career over the years. I mean, I've done probably hundreds, if not thousands, of presentations, ranging from being a keynote speaker at international conferences to teaching hands-on classes for small groups, right? And I'm also the director of some user groups, and I know very much the problems of activating members and getting people involved and such. And so, I mean, it's always interesting to hear someone else basically say the same thing. It's good reinforcement that you're not alone in the challenges that you're having. And so it's always good to see organizations like Toastmasters promoting, skills for people that help them advance them in their careers and in their life.
Well, thank you very much, Blake. We all are enjoying everything we hear today. And you, again, have also reinforced many of the things that we've heard tonight. Lastly, I'm going to call on Dawn Wharton.
Good evening.
Good evening, Dawn.
I'm sorry that I arrived a bit late. Why did I come? I got blasted 3 times this afternoon. Please attend WPTM. And I said, you know what? I'm going to go and listen to Lance, because the last time I heard Lance, it was a couple of years ago at Floor. And so I know I'm well acquainted with his speaking skills and the idea that he might have some input into pathways. I did take some notes down tonight, and one of the things that he said that I've been trying to do is to get people to commit to doing something. And I've been trying, and I'm going to try again this upcoming week, because we have several holidays coming up and people have time to, and ask them. I've been trying to get them, first of all, to commit to being the Toastmaster and supplying a team, and then possibly the word of the day, so that they can take on the grammarian and the counter roles, which I figured there's, if everyone does that in the club, it helps with the planning of the agenda. And so I am not going to give up on that idea. I'd like the other idea about inviting them to commit to a number of speeches, whether it be you use the communicator or the levels. And then one of the things that got me is that the strength of the club is directly related to the club leadership. I'm not liking you for that right now, because
I didn't like myself I didn't like myself when I realized that either. Okay.
No, because I'm the vice president of education, and one of the things that has been happening is a lot of people have dropped out because they want face-to-face communications. But the thing is that I am going to go back at some of them again because of COVID. Our office is going hybrid, which means that we are going to be doing a lot more communicating with our clients over Zoom. And I think that the speaking skills is still necessary, because our last 2 members joined for that particular reason, because they are now having to communicate more over Zoom with clients, and as a result, they need to improve their speaking skills. So I think that could be a possible selling point for the club, for my club.
Well, thank you very much, Dawn. Those are all great points. I'm now going to, sorry, Susan, I'm going to skip table topics and I'm going to go straight to our general evaluator. Before I introduce our general evaluator, please put your contact information in the chat so that you can receive the recording. Lance.
Antoinette, a couple other points. I listened to you and there I go, gosh, there's so much I want to say. A couple leadership points on rebuilding your club and getting people more activated. There's something that I use in leadership called the attainable goal. And maybe we have the goal of every member attaining every meeting, right? That's the goal we want. But the attainable goal when you're talking to the person is to say, could you come to one meeting? You give them something that that person can attain. You as a leader have a lot bigger plan, but you're getting that person to take one step. Could you be the all counter in 2 weeks? You know, that's an attainable goal that they can do, and you get them winning. People win by getting attainable goals. And the story on that came from a friend of mine in the National Speakers Association who played for the National Basketball League, the Utah Jazz. And when he joined the team, they were losing games by like 12 points a game. And he said that the coach didn't say, let's win a game. He said, let's see if we can lose a game by 10 points. And then they started losing by 10. He goes, let's see if we can lose by 8. And he goes, by the time they got to 6, they went, this is ridiculous. And they started winning games, but he got them turned around to attainable goals is the one component. And I had I had another point I was wanting to share with you, but I also just want to comment on Ron's thing on why would you go back to in person. We will go to hybrid, and I think Toastmasters can be a dynamic environment if you actually have an opportunity to speak in public and learn on Zoom, and it gives your club a lot broader base from that standpoint. But it's a couple of those points that that attainable goal concept has been something that's helped me turn. The other thing I was going to tell you, that's right. The whole thing about getting hit with something, I went in 1991, something like that. I had an opportunity to be a partner in a plumbing business in LA, and the Cold War ended about 6 months after I came in, and California went into a depression, which we hadn't been in. And we had to figure out how to keep that business going. And it wasn't something we wanted, and there were no rules to follow. We had to figure out, because there were no homes being built, everybody was looking for business. It was really rough. And we reinvented all the homes in California and LA need to be repiped because they were built with galvanized plumbing, and we had to put copper in. So we performed a repipe company and built it up into one of the largest, most successful repipe companies in Southern California. But there were months there that we were just trying to figure out how to survive. But same thing happened. I did an internet startup in 1999, 2000. And we were right on track to sell the company for $100 million. And I was going to make my $3 million out of it. And the bubble popped and everything tumbled and companies were worth nothing. And we didn't have an economic model on it. And we had to figure out how to salvage that business. And so this whole idea about leadership and figuring out for yourself is really critical. And so when you look at your club and you say the success of your club is the result of the cumulative leadership in the club. And I say that because everybody contributes to the success. it really brings it home that you can figure this out. And I know I didn't think when we started, we didn't know what to do, but we figured it out. And now I know what to do because I made tons of mistakes and I know how to run a club and I know how you keep it from going in the ditch and you keep it on the road. So this whole thing about following the rules and trying to do what the authorities tell us is not leadership. It's not going to make your club win. What makes your club win is owning the club and coming up with the solutions to get your members to win. So I'm just going to leave it with that.
Great
Oh,
words to pause on. Simel?
Yeah, as Lance is still here, may I ask the last question, Lance? So when I interact with new Toastmasters, especially who are 3 to 6 months in Toastmaster, I sense that they don't feel that they are getting the value or any improvement. So after the 6 months, they start feeling that, no, I am not improving maybe. So how could I explain them that in terms of some tangible parameter or something, no, you are progressing, everybody is watching, they feel that they're not doing good. And I have seen that the 30% of people who are leaving Toastmaster every year, majority of new Toastmasters, those ones started feeling that Toastmaster is giving them value, they continue.
Okay, I'm going to try to summarize this. I may need to come back and talk for another hour. There's 4 areas of development in Toastmasters. It's not speaking. Speaking is one of them. That consists of table topics and prepared speeches. We call it coaching in my club, not a speech evaluation. I can evaluate you and tell you that your shirt's ugly and you have a bad haircut, and I didn't help you. The whole idea of coaching somebody is to make them into a more competent individual, and that's a very important soft skill to have in life. Third area of development is meeting management. You start with Table Topics Master, you run a little bit of the meeting. You go to General Evaluator, you run part of the meeting. Your Toastmaster, you run the entire meeting. You learn how to run meetings properly. Fourth area of development is leadership. If the person comes in and in 6 months they've given 2 speeches, they're not getting any benefit out of Toastmasters. But if in 6 months they've done 3 speeches, they've done all 5 function areas, we've thrown them into coaching somebody so far, and you have them on the lineup to be Table Topics Master, they're going to be pushing up against their incompetencies so much that they realize that they got a lot to go with. And the other thing I will say that there's a lot of Toastmasters clubs out there that the bar is so low with the existing membership in it that after 6 months, the new member is at the par with everybody in the club. That's why high standards build great clubs. Low standards build weak clubs. So if you want to have a better club, have higher standards.
Oh, I like that one.
I did that like in 2 minutes. That's like an hour's worth of talking. I was amazing.
Oh, I love it. That's great. Thank you very much, Lance. You're welcome to stay for the last 10 minutes. You've been here this long. You might want to.